Hello, and
Hello.
welcome to the very first episode of Retroholics.
Willie DeWitt was on the verge of a scientific breakthrough.
Today, my science project, the photon accelerator, is ready for testing. I've calibrated the electromagnetic fields to circumvent any breakdowns caused by the machine. Remember, I did it all in the name of science.
But something went wrong.
Come on.
Now he's opened the portal to another dimension, another time, and space.
He told me his name, and he asked me to join his fight against the Toad Menace.
What was his name?
Yes, this is Retroholics, and you are joined here today by the two hosts who's been planning for the longest time to get this show done. We are finally here. I go by the name of Skillet.
And I myself, Free Thoughts.
We are two guys who are in love with 80s and 90s and 70s and even the 60s cartoons. And what this show is about is a review, a watch back. We are going to review cartoons that we grew up watching religiously, or maybe not, just cartoons that we were fond of, and we're going to watch it back as adults after all these years of not watching it prior. And we're going to give a review of our thoughts on it today. And today's first episode will be about, one, Captain Bucky O'Hare.
In another dimension, another time and space, a parallel universe is falling on its face. When out of the chaos, who else could it be but the animal adventurers from SPACE? Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare! Mutants and aliens and toads beware! You're looking for adventure? Well, this is it! With Jenny, Deadeye, Blinky, and Willie DeWitt, I said, Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare!
And now an update on Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars.
In the battle of the Anniverse, you don't know what's next. You only know amphibians are made it complex. When you check out your scanner and the evil that it woes, there's only one course of action. Let's cook us some toads! Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare! He goes when no ordinary rabbit would dare. If your righteous indignation has suffered a hit, and your photon accelerator is broken a bit, and you're losing your mind, and you're having a fit, get the funky fresh rabbit who can take care of it. Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare! You say Bucky! I said Bucky! Bucky O'Hare! Let's croak us some toads!
Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare. Oh my lord.
I said Bucky.
Memories. Free Force, what's your, before we even talk about this show, off the top of your head, what is your thoughts on this show, your opinions, and do you have fun memories of watching this cartoon?
Definitely had fond memories of Bucky O'Hare. I mean, there's some holes in the memory for sure, but obviously the theme tune was crazy.
Yep.
The character design was crazy, and yeah, like I'm looking forward to getting into this because, you know, in the research prior to this, I tried to stay away from watching it again, and like there was a lot of negative stuff. They were like, you know, it was great in some aspects, but the actual storyline was terrible. So I've got nothing but fond memories as a childhood of watching this. I remember pretty much all the characters' names still to this day. So yeah, I'm looking to get into this.
So that's funny. It's funny you say that. So I remember Bucky O'Hare. I don't remember it like loads of people that I know remember it. So I remember obviously Bucky O'Hare, the character. I remember the look of it, the feel. I remember what's it about, but I don't have any like memories of an episode per se. I remember few names. Like I only remember. If I'm honest with you, the only names I remember is Bucky O'Hare himself and Deadeye, and I don't remember the name of the little kid. I forgot his name, and you know, I just feel, and you know what's so funny? I remember growing up thinking, yeah, this show. I remember it being a great show when I was a kid, but I never knew how many people felt the same. So growing up, as I get older, you talk to your friends about old school cartoons. Your friends will tell you, "Oh, Bucky O'Hare was sick," and I'm like, "Yeah, it was good." So I don't know what to expect today. I don't know if it's gonna be something that I will be still impressed with. But we will get into that. We're gonna run down the episode when we watch it together on this episode. But before we get to that episode, let's talk about some history.
Let's talk about history.
Let's talk about Bucky O'Hare. Free thought. Hit us with some origin stories of the Bucky O'Hare.
So, Bucky O'Hare was a comic book created around 1978 by writer Larry Hama.
See, I didn't even realize it was a comic.
So yeah, no, Bucky O'Hare was a comic. I remember my first trip to the US. Well, my first trip as a child / adult by myself. I was 13 years old. I went to New York. And I stayed with some family there, and an uncle knew I was into comics, and he took me to a comic shop. And I didn't know about Bucky O'Hare then, but I was just flicking through what was there, and I found this awesome looking cover of this comic called Bucky O'Hare, and I was just like, yo, this looks crazy. And that was my first introduction to it. So yeah, way before the cartoon dropped, I was on job, and I knew that this was something that was going to be big.
Wow, okay.
I was working at DC Comics, and they said that we could create stuff and we'd own a big piece of it and they would publish it. So I worked this whole thing up, you know, and they said, well, hand it in. And I said, well, where's my contract? And they never came up with the paperwork. And my lawyer said, it was spoken agreement is worth the paper it's written on. I walked away with it, and Neil Adams, who was a really big-time comic book artist, said he would publish it. And I got a nice share of the rights. That's sort of like my take on what I really had wanted to do. I mean, I got into the comic book business because I wanted to do funny animals and ducks. And nobody was buying any of that at that time. You know, it was all superheroes. So I had to do superheroes. And then this chance came along to do what I really wanted to do.
And you may know, well, if you're a Star Wars buff, you may know that there's been a little internet for whore about, did Bucky O'Hare come from Star Wars, or did Star Wars rip Bucky O'Hare? So basically, there's a character called Jackson, and he first appeared in the 8th issue of Marvel's ongoing Star Wars comic series. But Jackson came up first. Like, let's stop the internet argument now. Jackson came up first.
But when was the Bucky O'Hare comic published?
So, Bucky O'Hare debuted in 1984.
Yeah.
But
Star Wars already was long
established at that stage. But the first time that we saw Jackson, this Bucky O'Hare looking character, which should pop on the screen right now, was in 1978. But as I said earlier, Larry Hama and Michael Golden were working for Marvel at this time. Okay. And they had already created Bucky O'Hare. So the story was basically, someone must have seen the storyboards or the initial drawings of Bucky, and they were just like, yeah, like that, we're taking it kind of thing. Right. But in reality, he was actually invented about a month after the first.
Now, if you can see you'll see in the screen of Jackson, he looks a lot like Bucky.
He looks a lot like Bucky. Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
It's crazy.
You know, even down to the suit is like.
Oh my lord! They ripped off Jackson. That is hilarious. That is hilarious.
You know? But yeah, just to break down the storyline basically. So, a parallel universe to Earth's, where a war is going on between the inept United Animals Federation, and the sinister Toad Empire. The United Animals Federation is an interplanetary republic run by anthropomorphic mammals, while the Toad Empire is controlled by a vast computer system known as Complex, which has led the highly consumerist toad population to fight an expansionist campaign against the rest of the galaxy. I mean, you know, I think this still works today, like, you know.
Well, it's
like,
Star Wars, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
But still, as a kid.
No, but with the consumerist ideologies and things like that, I mean, you know.
As a child, you're going crazy watching this.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one of the best things you ever see. So the comic, was it successful?
So the comic was successful.
It must have been to prompt a cartoon series.
Exactly, but it was the expense of the magazine at that time. Like, you know, they were trying to do too much, and like, you know, you got to respect. You know, you got to do too much sometimes to change the game.
Right.
But at that time, that was their downfall, unfortunately. And I think there's probably maybe just a couple more episodes of the comic further than the actual series. Sure. So you know, we didn't miss much.
Okay. So thank you for that. Free thought.
No problem.
Captain Bucky O'Hare Origin was a comic first. The cartoon. So if the comic was started in in the 70s, late 70s, it took them 13 years to make the actual cartoon.
Literally 13 years to make the cartoon. I mean, there's some discrepancy at the moment. I need to check some facts, but I think the computer game for Nintendo was actually picked up before the cartoon, and I think that was what actually the success of that. There was an arcade machine, and then there was a Nintendo game.
But no, the Nintendo game was on the NES. That was released in 1992, so that came out around the same time as the cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, there's clarification there.
Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you.
I just wanted to make sure that the Bucky O'Hare cartoon definitely came out in 92. But I was gonna ask about the toy line.
Yeah, so in a from BuckyO'Hare.org, there's a statement from Larry Hama, and basically he says that he always envisioned a toy line from the comic days. So if you look at the comic, like the little holsters for the guns are the exact same as the comics. Like they even got holes in their feet, as they appear in the toys, and this was the vision that Hama had, was that like this is gonna be across all mediums. Like you know, he already visioned that this was gonna do well, and that he wanted the toy line to be exactly the same as he envisioned the original characters. As we know, with a lot of comics to toys or cartoons to toys and vice versa, you know, liberties are usually taken. Like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is,
of course, because the animal, what? How do you pronounce it?
Anthropomorphic.
Anthropomorphic's world was blowing up with the children,
blowing up.
That would definitely prompt them to make a toy line for Bucky O'Hare, and I guess that's the reason why they made the cartoon too. Yeah, which made sense. Okay, did we talk about the cartoon? Should we get into it?
I think it's time to get into it. Let's do this.
All right, before we do, let's get back to that theme again. This is the Captain Bucky O'Hare theme, baby.
Let's
gotta play
some toads.
In another dimension, another time and space, a parallel universe is falling on its face. When out of the chaos, who else could it be but the animal adventurers from SPACE? Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare! Mutants and aliens and toads beware! You're looking for adventure? Well, this is it! With Jenny, Deadeye, Blinky, and Willie to win. I said, Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare!
And now an update on Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars.
In the battle of the universe, you don't know what's next. You only know amphibians are made in complex. When you check out your scanner and the evil that it bodes, there's only one course of action. Let's cook us some toads! Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare! He goes when no ordinary rabbit would dare. If your righteous indignation has suffered a hit, and your photon accelerator's broken a bit, and you're losing your mind, and you're having a fit, get the funky fresh rabbit who can take care of it. Bucky! Captain Bucky O'Hare! You say Bucky! I said Let's croak us some toads.
Alrighty, yeah, I love that theme song, man. Like, if you listen to the lyrics, in another dimension, another time and space, a parallel union was falling on its face. When out of the chaos, who else could it be but the animal adventures of SPACE? And that SPACE was the name of the team. Am I right? That's not like in space.
It is Sentient Protoplasm Against Colonial Encroachment.
But isn't that the name of their squad? Yeah, the name of their space. I'm assuming that's the name of their team, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I assumed all that time, but I could be wrong. So Captain Bucky O'Hare, episode 1. The title of this episode is called The War of Warts, which was written by Kirsty Marks, who wrote for Fantastic Four, the 1978 version, Spider-Man of the 1980s, Gem and the Holograms. She even wrote for Gem and the Holograms, the movie, which came out 2018, last year.
Put in work.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1988 cartoon. Conquest, which was a 1990s cartoon.
Didn't know that.
Never heard that. Hypernauts, which was a 90s TV show. I'd never heard of that either. I guess that's some space show. Conan the Barbarian cartoon, remember that? The 90s cartoon. I can't wait for us to talk about that. Mighty Max, G.I. Joe, Reboot, Babylon 5, the TV show, Darkstalkers. She even wrote for He-Man, the 2002 remake, and Biker Mice from Mars, and so much more.
Wow.
Kirsty,
really put in work.
Marks, you have put in works. Hopefully we'll have while I'm describing your work, we have an image of you somewhere if we can find it. If we don't, then we have an image of a miscellaneous person. But it kicks off with like a frog-like ship in this episode of Bucky O'Hare. It cuts to some toad soldiers watching an overalized sexual female frog selling warts cream. So these adverts are very straight away kicking off in the cartoon. And you said that adverts are quite prominent in this series, right?
Yeah, I think the whole thing was complex. The computer system is trying to brainwash the toads with consumerism. So I think there's little funny adverts within each episode.
It's quite deep.
Yeah.
Warts Galore was the name of this cream. The Toad Marshal demands his team to stop slacking and follow him as he should be nominated for an award. Because he said that and I quote, he said,
"It isn't every day I conquer and enslave an entire planet, let alone the home world of my greatest enemy, Bucky O'Hare!"
So you see some slaves being taken into his ship. So, the Air Marshal is already killing it with his, helping out complex, enslave different planets and different animals. And obviously, he's enslaved Bucky O'Hare's home planet, which was driven Bucky O'Hare to be on this conquest to stop Complex by any means.
Now listen, that's called motherfucking bars. You know nothing about that. You know why? Cause you a mumble rapper, Bow Wow, a mumble rapper. Lil Yachty, you don't want nothing too.
We see the ship driven by Deadeye, which is the four-armed Daffy Duck looking one-eyed goon of a duck.
No, he's a goon.
He's the only character I kind of properly remember. We have Jenny and Bucky, who's in the ship right now. Jenny says that she sees sensors of the enemy of the Toad slave ship who are patrolling space. Bucky lets the crew know that they've spotted the enemy ship and it's time to kick off this war. And Deadeye is fully on this thing. He's very excited. He's very happy.
Maybe a little bit overexcited.
There's this robot called Blinky, who's like a R2D2 C3PO type of Star Wars based character who's cleaning up the ship.
AFC Blinky, Android First Class.
He actually cleans up after this, some banana peels off the floor of Berserker Bruiser, who's complaining about how outdated this ship is. Bucky tells him, and I quote, to put in the back burner, Bruce. Which he replies, okay, but I don't like it. That typical 80s stuff. Bucky and Jen and Bruiser infiltrate the ship, and Bucky and Deadeye will take care of the escorts, Jen and Bruiser infiltrates the ship, I apologize. And Bucky and Deadeye will take care of the escorts. The Toads are also on this beef. So the war's going off, it's kicking off. It's just a war on space, really. There's no introduction of what the planet is yet so far. There's no mention of that, but we'll get there. Deadeye, by the way, can I say, is incredible on this war thing. He's killing people left, right, and center, shooting at all these toads. He's great with his weapons. He's a known marksman. He's shooting with one arm behind his back. He's that good. and while chalking on the screen how much bodies he's getting, like a tally chart. Crazy. Jen and Bruiser infiltrate the ship to catch some of the Toad guards. One of them looks like it could be a page-free magazine when the Toads look like he's reading like a little play Toad.
Is he licking the cover? Wow. That's a lot.
The alarm goes off and they call for security to take care of Jen and Bruiser in the shuttle bay. Tell me about Bruiser. I kind of remember Bruiser. I think I had a little action figure of Bruiser, but
so in this episode, this is actually Bruce, who's Bruiser's brother, and they are Beetlejuice and
okay.
who the Toads are terrified for whatever reason. I don't think they ever really explain why they're so scared of Beetlejuice and baboons, but that's their kryptonite, basically.
So do me a favor. Give me a list of the whole crew. We have Captain Bucky O'Hare.
We have Captain Bucky O'Hare.
Who's a rabbit. He's a hare.
He's a hare.
The green
Captain
rabbit.
of the Righteous Indignation. And the crew would be Deadeye Duck. In this episode, it's Bruce, the Beetlejuicean Berserker Baboon. Maybe let's not spoil what happens to him.
Yeah, we'll get there in the end.
We'll get there in the end. Then you have AFC Blinky, which AFC is Android First Class. You got First Mate Jenny, the Mystic Cat, or
so Jen's a cat.
She's a mystic cat.
So all these years, I assumed Jen was a rabbit.
Oh wow!
But she's actually a cat.
Jenny is a cat,
and I can actually see she's a cat as well. That's quite bad. Okay, so Jen is a mystical type of cat. Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I didn't really mention the names prior, so some people watching this might be like, "What is going on?"
And then of course we got Willie DeWitt.
We'll get there.
But we'll get there.
He's the human friend, ally.
Yeah.
So the alarm goes off and the Toads call for security to take care of Jen and Bruiser, who's infiltrating the shuttle bay. The security team are armed and ready. They shout out, "Surrender!" in the name of the Toad Empire. Bruiser bursts through the door, crushing one of the Toad soldiers, screaming a battle cry. Which, how's it go, 3-4? Kaioka.
Don't ask me. I think it's awooga, basically.
It sounds like Kaioka. Anyway. But Jen as a character, so far, seems a bit strong. There's very much female empowerment in this character.
Definitely. And I think
she don't play about. She don't mess about.
That's a beautiful thing. And I don't think 80s cartoons we saw a lot of powerful female leads, and I feel like Jenny was as awesome as Bucky, if not more so, with her mystic powers.
She does have some mystic powers. She's got some X-Men, Jane Grey telepathy type of stuff going on. Can you give us a rundown exactly what her powers are?
I can. I think basically Jenny's powers include telepathy, astral projection, energy plus, and healing.
And she heals as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming all these powers come into play as the series
They
goes
come
on.
into play, but she actually keeps them secret from the whole crew, apart from Willie DeWitt, because she's got a big crush on him. So,
which is really weird.
Weird, because these powers are supposedly they're actually sacred powers from her planet. So only the female cats have these powers.
So we were just saying how she's very strong and a strong female lead. But then they kind of sexualize her with this whole Woody DeWitt.
Yeah,
you know. So it's still back to 80s propaganda and 90s, or early 90s, I should say, as well. But anyway, Jen destroys this robot and she walks, dismember these robots and gets rid of these toads.
With ease, may I add.
Then they cut to San Francisco. So this shows that there isn't a human world, there is an Earth, and in space, these anamorphic type characters are existing. They cut to San Francisco with a name. I feel they haven't really tried to think of a clever name for this school. The school is called the School of San Francisco, where Willie, what's his name? Willie the what?
Willie DeWitt.
Willie DeWitt attends. As he's going to his locker to, get his books and whatnot, he's approached by 3 bullies. These bullies are trying to intimidate Willie by writing nerd on his locker, but Willie doesn't really seem intimidated. Willie actually gives some smack talk back saying that's the only word you can spell. Will doesn't really seem shook at these guys.
Yeah, he's pretty brave.
Yet these guys are telling Will if he doesn't fail his next exam, which Will is obviously a genius, if he doesn't get an F in his next exam, they're going to beat him up, basically. Back to space, or the Aniverse, I should say, which I kind of gave away what it's called. But the Toads are losing this war at the Mo, and the soldiers inform the air marshal, who demands greatness and tells us to go back and kill Bucky. Meanwhile, Bucky and Jen are united with the enslaved hares, which really infuriates Bucky. Bucky meets the 3 slaves of the Hare clan, which I was gonna ask you this, 3-4, because you're somebody who likes to think. That's why they call you 3-4.
That's right.
I always wondered until now, because I saw this episode, which I haven't seen in such a long time. But I always wondered why Bucky O'Hare was a green hare, until you also informed us why, because it's based on the Star Wars character Jackson. But I always thought, if the villain's toads are green and Bucky is a green rabbit, I always thought, is there some sort of in the comics where there's some sort of plot twist where maybe he's half frog or whatever? But no, because when he sees these 3 hares, a lot of these rabbits are green themselves. So that squashes my theory. But that would have been cool, right?
That would have been cool. That would have been
a bit too deep for kids, I guess.
Complex is the father of Bucky,
Yeah,
that would have been.
Complex, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker nonsense. Anyway, so this really pisses off Bucky O'Hare that, he's seen more of his hairs being enslaved by Complex. But one of the slaves tells him to stay true to his mission and save the rest of the Aniverse. And that's when they finally mention this universe. It's called the Aniverse. And if you could give me more details, what's he trying to say to Bucky about this? Like
he's basically saying save the Aniverse instead of going for this solo quest of retribution.
Right. Which is
sound words, yeah. But, that's very humble and it's a beautiful thing. Think of, the bigger picture, teaching kids.
Yeah. We cut back to San Francisco where Will was eating tofu burgers with his parents, but he's not hungry and he doesn't want to eat it. And then his dad asks, "What's wrong, Will?" Will replies by asking his parents, if you knew someone was going to beat you up for doing what you felt was really important, would you do it anyway? Now, if my son or daughter, I don't have one, but if I ever was to have kids and they were to ask me this question, the first thing I would say, who's picking on you in school, son? Who's picking you in school, girl, my daughter? No, but instead, Will's parents reply with, well, son, there are some things so important that are worth fighting for, no matter the cost. And then the mother says, yes, making sure we grow up in a world where whales and owls and there's an ozone layer. And then they reply with, oh, David, the rally, we gotta run.
Can I just say, even for that time, these guys are super hipster parents. I know, if you know San Francisco, obviously, there's a big hipster community there already, but the whole eating tofu burgers and it's crazy, and it made me giggle, understanding the fact that they're actually taking the piss out of the parents at that stage.
Yes, basically. Back on space, Bucky is approaching the Joint Defense System to interrupt the Animal UN, which is called
the United Animals Security Council.
This is basically the Animal UN.
Basically.
Bucky's really pissed off with the council because he's having a go at them, saying that the resources they gave him to stop the Air Marshal and Complex isn't really enough, and he found another planet of these slaves, of his people being enslaved, So he didn't get to them in time, and he couldn't stop them like he wanted to because they didn't give him enough resources. The UN don't really take on what Bucky's saying. They're arguing back with him. So Deadshot licks off some gunshots in the council to get their attention. Shout out to Deadshot. Sorry, I said Deadshot. Shout out to Deadeye. He don't play. Back to the Toad base. They're watching the advert brought to you by Flam. Yes, Flam, the compressed fly loaf. It's basically all the flies that toads eat compressed into a nice stickly loaf. Think hot cross buns with flies in it. But then that advert is interrupted by Complex himself, which is the Darth Sidious to the Air Marshal's Darth Vader, who's upset with the Air Marshal for not killing Bucky O'Hare and going back and find him. So the Air Marshal rallies his troops back to space to chase after Bucky O'Hare. And as Bucky's trying to escape, he sees 50 toads on his trail. Bucky's trying to go into hyperdrive to get rid of them. They also go into hyperdrive to find him. The toads are after Bucky shooting up his ship, but there's a force field protecting the shield. As that's happening, Bucky is trying to demand Bruiser to quickly find a portal so that he can get them to escape. Bucky needs the accelerator to work, basically, which Bruiser's working on. But Bruiser has been telling Bucky that the ship is outdated. You know, this is what he's working with. So Bucky is now learning why Bruiser was making a big complaint. But, you know, Bucky being the captain is still rallying and pushing Blinky and Bruiser to get this portal working. Then the portal does work. What happens next when the portal works? 3-4.
So basically, you know, young Willie DeWitt, luckily on Earth at the exact same time, activates the photon accelerator that he's built in his bedroom from household junk, and this creates a hyperspace portal to the right, direct to the Righteous Indignation.
So Righteous Indignation is the name of the ship, isn't it?
Righteous Indignation is the name of the
team.
The frigate.
Frigate.
Right.
Okay.
Righteous Indignation.
Okay.
So yeah, that's their ship, and you know, of course, Willie, being the good-hearted tofu-eating kid that he is, decides to give the crew a hand.
But here's the thing. So when Willie does that, does he cause what happens to Bruiser?
No. So
Bruiser was already trying to work this thing out.
He was on the work, and
the portal sucks him out.
Bruce. Bruiser is Bruce's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cousin or
Bruce.
brother. Yeah.
Okay, Bruce.
So Bruce, this is Bruce, who obviously we will never see again, basically.
So Bruce is dead.
Bruce is dead. In the comics, he is vaporized.
He's vaporized.
Yeah.
Blinky looks really upset about this. He lays the information back to Bucky. Bucky kind of takes it on like how a soldier would take it on. Oh, man, we're going to miss him. Anyway, let's get out of here.
Let's keep moving. There's 50 toads outside.
Yeah.
We've got to keep moving.
Yeah, but so Willie is now in the ship. He's been portaled into the ship as well. So the door.
So in the middle of the door, there's this hyperspace portal. One side is Willie DeWitt's house door with like his dad jacket on one side and, you know, the do not disturb. And then on the other side is the portal to Willie DeWitt's room.
But in the comics, Willie gets sucked into the ship and he's not found again in the real world.
That's correct. Exactly.
But in the comics, they wanted him to go back and forth so he can go back to mum and dad.
Of course.
Yeah. Okay, cartoons. And then as Will is there to try and help, so Will kind of like, he's at first is a bit like, oh wow, you're a talking rabbit. Oh wow, you're green. Oh wow, this is weird. But then after 2 seconds, he's like, okay, he understands what's happening.
Yeah, there's 50 toads outside.
He goes, okay,
let's get to work.
And he's also not only understands what's happening, he's smart enough to build up some new technology to help Bucky and his team, basically.
Well, basically, he's already built this. That's what he says. They're just like, oh, but do you know how to do this? He's like,
I've done
well,
this.
I just made one actually.
Even though in this world technology is far more advanced in the real world, I could still match up to your technology with my brain. So that's what happens. As Will's trying to make this thing, Bucky's like, oh, hurry, and the toads shoot up their ship, and it ends on a cliffhanger. Now, I'm gonna say, I was impressed by this episode.
Definitely.
I didn't know what to. I didn't know how I was gonna feel about this. I didn't think this would age well. I didn't think
true.
I was gonna enjoy this.
It's true.
I thought I was gonna really cuss this down. But as a first episode, this is not bad.
Yeah, I'm ready to watch episode 2 right now.
So what? I mean, yeah. I mean, we're gonna edit this, but we're gonna get into the middle.
Yeah.
So before we get to the end of this episode, we're gonna just talk about a little rundown of our favorite moments and give you a little analysis of what happens during the season before we get to the season finale. So here is a little rundown from myself, Skillet, and Freefall.
Tired of smooth skin? Try Warts Up, the amazing new wart cream. We interrupt Toad TV for an update on Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars. The Toad Air Marshal has ordered his Storm Toads to crush the Freedom Fighters. Captain Bucky O'Hare.
Battle stations!
Gunner Deadeye Duck.
Let's grow toads!
And Boy Genius Willie DeWitt.
Ever see a toad fly?
Yeah, those filthy mammals!
Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars.
New Bucky O'Hare action figures sold separately.
And now back to Toad TV.
Hey, way to go!
So throughout the series, we'll see how the Toad invasion and the Toad's world dominance throughout the whole Aniverse,
yeah.
sorry, has affected different animals from different breeds. Like, you know, you'll see, I think we see foxes, we see rabbits, we see hedgehogs, we see
dolphins, octopus.
We see all these animals being enslaved, and it's really much the world against the Toads. So the Toads are kind of like the Nazis in a way.
It's almost, I think it's almost like reptiles or cold-blooded versus warm-blooded. So obviously we see the lizards and those kind of guys.
Oh yes, of course, yeah, they're right.
Yeah.
Oh yes, of course, you're right. Yeah, they're in the, yeah. So it's that, isn't it? It's the
cold-blooded.
It's lizards versus yeah. What's the word? Not lizards.
Amphibians and
amphibians. What the hell?
Well, amphibians, toads, but then you've got your snakes and lizards, which would be reptiles. So you amphibians and reptiles versus mammals.
Yeah.
Although octopus isn't a mammal, but you know, like that, we give them artistic license, right?
Well, okay. So I mean, the Toad Wars are very much a up and down war between, you know, good and evil. So it's very much sometimes Bucky and the space crew will win a few battles, and sometimes Complex and his Toads will do. Well, I won't say they win all the battles, but they, they
might. It might be, you know, they come out a bit better than usual, but I don't think you can concisely say they win.
Let's mention some of the names that we get to meet that helps Bucky and the space crew, you know, fight against this evil force, which is Complex. So you have Commander Dogstar, right? We have Mimi LaFleur. Commander Dogstar's a dog, isn't it?
He's a dog. He's a bulldog.
But doesn't he have like a...
He's got his own frigate, the Infallible, I think.
That's
how you
right.
Pronounce that.
And well, there was like a dog-ish, or was it a wolf? Yeah, like a companion that's a wolf, I think.
Oh, in Commander Dogstar's crew?
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like a wolf. There was the bee.
What was the bee called? Mumblebee.
It sounded like Mumblebee, yeah. I think so. Then you had the mole.
The mole, yes.
And I think that was, pretty much Dogstar's crew.
So we also met Mimi LaFleur, which is a fox. Very, with her one, everyone was telling her about how Bucky O'Hare is going to come and save them, all these hares that were enslaved. And she was also captured and enslaved herself. And she fought against it. She said, I'm not waiting for no Bucky O'Hare. I'm going to cause damage myself, which she did, you know. Yeah. And then she obviously got to meet Bucky O'Hare, and, you know, that will change for her. The wolf was part... Was it the wolf also... there was a wolf as well, right? The wolf is part of the Dogstar, yeah.
Oh, part of Dogstar's crew, yeah.
Digger McSquint. Who's Digger McSquint? I don't remember that. Oh, no, that's the mole. I mentioned all the characters you just already mentioned. And it's not Mumblebee, it's Rumblebee. Sorry.
Rumblebee, that's...
Sorry. It's Pit Stop P. I don't remember that one.
Pit Stop P. Look.
Was that part of the commander as well? Dogstar's commander crew. It is, isn't it?
You got a good memory.
I mentioned all these... there was a pig, wasn't there?
There was a pig? No.
There was a pig in one episode.
Oh yeah, of course. There's a pig in one episode for sure. Many episodes, but
Yeah, I
whether,
think it's
whether
like a
he
secretary general or something.
yeah, I think he would be part of the animal UN as we were calling it.
Harmon was a walrus. We got to meet a walrus.
Griff, the hater, he was vice chairman.
Right. And there's an octopus that you mentioned, Dexter.
Yeah, and then
What was the name of that dolphin, man? Battlenose.
Battlenose, Major
Battlenose. That he was jokes.
Yeah, he was a G with
I
his
think
little
there was-
English accent and that.
I think the octopus was jokes as well. He said something like "them be the rules" or something like that. I can't remember. But anyway, what about the Toad Empire subjects and allies? Obviously, Complex is the big bad.
Yeah, you got Al Negator.
Yes. He was like a
Alligator.
marshal, wasn't he?
No, he was.
No, he was like a mercenary.
Mercenary.
Yeah, that's
that's
it.
a mercenary for hire.
Yeah,
All
he-
about the money.
Yeah, he was dope. Toadborg was invented as well, right? Some cyborg.
Yeah, that was
invented by
what Complex made them, half robot, half toad.
To make sure to put in line Air Marshal when he messes up and makes his mistakes. Fricks and Fracks were toads. They were
Yeah.
Are they the ones
I love them characters actually.
Yeah.
They should have made figures for those when they were dropping the toys.
Yeah, man.
Fricks and Fracks.
They're the ones that just watched Toad TV all day,
Toad
right?
T all day.
Storm Toads as well. Some like Stormtroopers, Star Wars, Storm Guards. Andyphibian.
Oh wow.
That's a great one. He was like the star reporter of the TNT News. That was a good name. And
The Samurai Lizards.
Yeah,
the
that was
Zoid,
dope.
I think, was the main guy.
yeah, man.
Yeah. There's
Some good stuff,
there's a
man.
lot.
We also throughout the series you get to meet different origin stories. You had the Deadeye. We found out Deadeye used to be part of a pirate ship crew. All these ducks who just do nothing but rob and pillage and steal. And Deadeye left them to join Bucky O'Hare and his space crew. And there's an episode where we meet them and try to make a peace treaty with them.
You see the Ninja Duck Clan.
Ninja Duck Clan,
Gotta shout out the
some good
Ninja Duck
episode.
Clan.
Well, one of my favorite episodes was the one about the scientists who created Complex.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they tried to destroy Complex, but Complex found out what they were trying to do and casted them out to space. You said there's something important about the episode that links to the very last episode we're going to get into, and what is that?
That's correct. Oh, well, basically, the climate converter that they capture in that episode is integral to the last episode, which we can get into a bit later.
All right. We also see Bruiser Baboon's world. Bruiser Baboon was called up to go back to his homeland to receive the honor for the Bronze Banana Medal of Honor.
Jeez.
For his duties in the Toad Wars, which it's not ended yet, but maybe he was some sort of soldier before he joined space, right?
Yeah.
In that episode, that's the one where Toadborg designs some shades that gives the Toads confidence. The Toads are always scared of
Berserker baboons.
Berserker baboons and
Beetlejuicians.
yeah, Toadborg designs these shades that gives them confidence. So there was one episode where we actually see Toads kick some baboon ass.
Yeah, no, that was
good to see. That was fun.
That was fun. That was a fun episode.
Winnie the Wit is annoying. I'm sorry. Can I just say? He's annoying.
I find his parents more annoying, to be fair, but
His parents are some drunken hipsters.
Yeah.
But he's annoying because I just feel like he's just the easiest scapegoat when the writers don't know where they want to go.
the genius level is too ridiculous.
It's like, we're in a vortex here. We're all going to die. And Willie was like, I know how to reverse this vortex and get us out of here. How does he know? So he better have a job in the government in San Francisco. Is it San Francisco where he lives, right?
San Francisco, yeah.
Or he better be the president of the United States with all that intelligence that he has, man. It's crazy.
No, it's crazy.
Just
It's
scapegoating
crazy.
out, man. My last take, I'll move on to you for your favourite moments in the series before we get to episode 3. Was and Willie's friend, Susie. That was nice. She's someone that looks out for him.
Yeah, his little earthling
As
friend.
intelligent he is, he might not be always the smartest when it comes to common sense. And there was this young girl that was kicking game to him so she could copy his homework or whatever. And his homegirl Susie was there for him saying, "Nah, man, she's just using you." And Willie saw sense. So I like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I have to say, man, when you watch it back, I'm impressed. I'm impressed with Bucky O'Hare.
It's a great series, you know, and I think like I was worried that it wouldn't stand up. Like, you know, some of my favorite movies as a child haven't stood up the test of time, but I feel like this has like, you know, this you know, with new animation, this could drop in 2019, and I think it, you know, the kids would love it.
Do you have any favorite moments before we move on to episode 13?
Ooh. No, I mean, as a whole, I think it was just great to see all the different animals in their environment. So yeah, definitely the pirate duck outfit, the ninja duck, the samurai lizards, going into the Beetlejuicean world and seeing the tree kind of planet that they lived on was dope. Like, yeah, I think the whole Aniverse and the depth of how they tried to interpret that world was dope.
Okay, and before we get into episode 13, can you give us some information about the title theme song itself? Who composed that, and what's the origin of that guy who is involved in the title sequence of Bucky O'Hare? Because I think that title theme is a tremendous theme, and I just want to know a little bit more information about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so the title theme, obviously awesome. I mean, like in the preparation for this tune has been stuck in my head at any given moment of the day, and it was created by Doug Casaros. I mean, you know, at me in the comments if Casaros.
Sounds like a Greek name.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a Greek name. So, you know, at me if I pronounced that wrong, I apologize. But he's basically a musician and songwriter, keyboardist. Right. And he has worked with a crazy amount of names. So, Cher, Rod Stewart, Sinead O'Connor, Gloria Estefan, Elton John, Aerosmith, BB King. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's crazy. You know, even to Christina Aguilera, as you know, as forward as that. Man. He's definitely on job. I mean,
any other theme songs he done?
Not that we know. Like basically,
he did a tick. You said he did a tick, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he did. He did the tick.
He
did the tick.
I love that.
So that was.
But he obviously was more focusing on a musical career, not just doing.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's a musical career.
Before he tried to do his little solo thing, like he won an Emmy. Like I think he was known for, like children's program intros. So he won an Emmy in like '84, I think, for the ABC After School Specials. Okay. Which was like musical composition in children's programming awards, which was like, you know, crazy. Like 2005, he won another one, and 2012. So like definitely like his discography is crazy, and you should definitely check him out. Thank you, Doug, for bringing us one of the illest cartoon themed songs.
We salute you, man. We give you a space style salute. And what's the the Goblin Berserker chant?
Yeah.
War cry.
War cry. Yeah.
Alrighty, I guess we're gonna go off to episode 13 now. This is the last ever episode of Captain Bucky O'Hare, because there's only one season. So let's get into it. Episode 13. And what is the title of this episode for me, my man?
So the last episode is called The Taking of Pilot Jenny.
Okay, Taking of Pilot Jenny. Written by, I believe, Peter Stone and Neil Adams. There was talk about Neil Adams looking to bring back Bucky O'Hare for a movie. I think back in 2006 was going to be like a CGI thing. But obviously that never happened, which is probably the reason why we'll talk to later with the cartoon being cancelled and why it was never really resurrected or seen again. Even though it did have a massive following, it's actually quite interesting.
Yeah. I mean, in 2006 though, Neil Adams, along with obviously Larry Hama, they produced like a manga of Bucky O'Hare.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, it's pretty much a regurgitation of
what's already been
of the original comic, which obviously is impossible to get unless you're willing to pay that crazy reseller kind of cash on it. But yeah, so that's still available and easy to get hold of.
Interesting.
Today. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So how does this episode start off? Free Thought. Let's talk about this. Let's break down the very last episode of Captain Bucky O'Hare.
So basically, Jenny and Blinky are flying along at epic speeds on the Toad Croaker, which they did a awesome toy of as well. Much to Blinky's dismay, because they're on a mission. Time is of the essence, and Jenny is driving crazy. But then they're captured by Toadborg. So Willie, back on Earth, is alarmed that no one's called him in a couple of days, is I think what he says, but he's worried about that. And so he, turns on the machine and arrives on the Righteous Indignation to discover everyone's grieving Jenny's capture.
Right.
So the Toads demand in exchange for Jenny the climate converter. So there's be a lot of climate converter conversations coming up. So maybe we'll call that CC1.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, so CC1. So Bucky stole in Home, Swampy Home. So they want to exchange that. And so if you want to go back, episode, I think 3, Home, Swampy Home.
Yeah.
That's when he stole the climate converter. So...
Oh, no, that would be episode 4 or 5.
Whoa. Yeah. Home, Swampy Home's the title. Yeah. You go Google that, guys. Yeah. So, Bucky's all up for it, to Willie's disbelief, and they agree to meet with the Hares on planet Kenner, who are holding the machine to take it and transport it back to the Toads.
Right.
So after they're getting the Hares to agree to that, Bucky and the crew go to make the exchange. So we see captured Jenny being teased by our 2 favorite Toads, Fricks and Frax.
Mm-hmm.
And she uses her telekinetic powers to literally play with them like puppets. So Toadborg appears and puts a quick stop to that, calling her a witch, which I kind of like it when they do little cheeky things to that, like obviously they're alluding to calling her a bitch.
Yeah.
But obviously she is actually a witch. So yeah, that was cute. So as soon as the crew make the exchange, of course, they're captured by Toadborg, who's double-crossing Toads. So, however, as soon as the Toads have the crew prisoner, our man Dogstar and the real Bucky O'Hare, who switched with his cousin Jeffrey.
Yeah. So when I saw this, I was like, what is going on?
Which is it's a dumb little twist, especially as I don't know if they knew this was going to be the final episode. But just the fact that they just went deep.
It reminds me of, I don't know if you ever watched Iron Man, the animated series. There was an episode where Iron Man was getting married to Scarlet Witch, I believe it was. And Mandarin invades or whatever, and in Mandarin, because Mandarin found out that Iron Man is Tony Stark, so it's Tony Stark's getting married, right?
Okay.
And the Mandarin comes and crashes the wedding, but then Iron Man shows up out of nowhere and saves the day. Yeah. So at the end, you see Scarlet Witch come up to him and goes, Tony, and points at Iron Man, Tony. He goes, I'm so confused. And then Iron Man takes off his helmet and then reveals the helmet is a woman that's wearing a suit, then takes off the mask and it's Tony Stark's. And she's like, well, hold on, if you're Tony, then who's Tony Stark? And then Tony Stark bursts open the shirt and says, I'm not Tony, I am a robot.
I think I caught that. Yeah. Dope. Yeah, I love that. It's a beautiful chess move there. So
a writer's scapegoat, that's what I say. That and Winnie the Witch. Anyway, keep going, sorry.
So Dogstar and the real Bucky blast through the Toad defenses. The crew, now including Jenny and Blinky, escape and steal the CC1, while Bucky and Dogstar go to the still swampy Warren to remove the climate converter currently there. Let's call that CC2 from the planet.
Okay.
So after boarding the CC2, Bucky and Dogstar's crew battle a robot controlled by Complex. But basically, Complex's consciousness creates a machine in a Ultron way, basically. They eventually win, and Bucky gets the CC2 off the planet. Complex recovers and uses the CC2 to attack the CC1, which is being piloted towards Warren. And of course, Bucky defeats Complex again.
We finally get to see Complex though do some stuff.
Yeah,
finally,
exactly.
You know?
We see Complex on job for the first time. You know, instead of sitting behind his ominous computer screen, he gets out, and obviously he's quite a competent bad guy. And if Bucky wasn't such a intelligent, sly, witty character, then I'm sure
he'd be for dead.
He'd be for dead.
But I was gonna say there was no Air Marshal in this episode. So Air Marshal was in the one before when they went into the baboon world to invade the baboons, right?
Yeah.
And I remember what's the name of the Toadborg? Toadborg.
Yeah.
Toadborg told the Air Marshal to retrieve this monstrous toad-like baboon.
Oh yeah.
to come in.
What was he called again?
I can't remember now. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like a pink, massive
Big
toad.
beast of a toad, yeah.
And then Marshall's like, I brought it for you, because we're not gonna use him yet. Our plan's working, and he was just so like frustrated, and that was it. Was that like the end of Air Marshal? Do you think he had enough of the constant not being appreciated, and I'm gone, and then he was never seen in the last episode?
No, I think it's more of a thing that he fails so much. Like Complex doesn't mess around, and I think that's what I like. Is like, you know, sometimes, especially in 80s cartoons, like some of the evil characters was so dumb, for lack of a better word, that it became frustrating. But like these characters evolve, and they know that okay, Toad Marshall isn't the guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna leave the serious stuff to Toadborg, because Toadborg is on job.
Okay.
And obviously, you know, in this episode, we see Complex actually take matters into his own hands, because it's not a joke anymore, you know.
So how did Bucky actually defeat Complex?
So I mean, we got to talk about how Bucky actually defeat Complex. Like the final time, he comes through with a backflip to the face, flips off Complex's face, and just unplugs him from the back, which was
caused an explosion.
It was caused an explosion.
Right.
And basically destroys CC2. So Willie, obviously our resident scientist, uses CC1, which has been reprogrammed by the hair scientist. So, you know, Willie doesn't do it all. Like some of the, he lets the other mammals get in on the scientific action, which which was glad to see. Obviously not being used as the scientific scapegoat all the time. Like a whole team of scientists had to reprogram the climate converter, and basically this is to obviously change Warren back to woodland instead of the swamp.
Right.
So they reversed the process of this, so the hares can go back and repopulate. So Bucky explains to Willie that the whole thing was Jenny's plan, and was a way basically to get the reprogrammed climate converter onto Warren, as the Toads would only let it near Warren if they thought the mammals were giving it to them in exchange for Jenny.
Okay.
And all is well in the Aniverse.
And that's the end.
Yeah, that's the end.
So basically, Complex is in this world of a cartoon. Complex has been defeated. He has been destroyed. Maybe, you know, you could always argue that can you really destroy technology?
Yeah. So I feel that basically, you know, in similar to how Marvel did with Ultron, like the computer's consciousness can never really be destroyed, so it can always be transferred to another computer.
Okay.
But yeah, so
quickly, let's rank Bucky O'Hare as a series. 13 episodes, 1 to 13.
Ooh.
The only series ever out of 5. How many drinks? Because we are Retroholics. How many pints do you give out of 5 of Bucky O'Hare?
It's a difficult one, because I'm comparing it already into my head for shows that I'd give 5 drinks to, and it's not a 5-drink show, but it's a great show, Skillet. It's a great show, man.
Yeah, it's a fun show, but I don't know if it deserves even 3.
Oh!
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2.5 pints.
Wow. Okay, we're going super harsh. Okay, so we're being frugal with our
It's
pints.
only because we have to be careful how we compare this to others. Though.
Wow. Okay.
Because there's gonna be other cartons that we're gonna review on the show.
And they're gonna
are
be
on that elite level.
Yeah, yeah. No, okay.
Unfortunately, Bucky O'Hare is not there.
Oh.
And I only had 1 series to even. It couldn't even improve.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say 2 pints and a half.
Wow.
Out of 5.
I gotta give it a 3. A solid 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the aftermath. Why was Captain Bucky O'Hare cancelled?
That is a question I think fans of the series are still debating to this day.
Well, I mean, I honestly believe it's a number of things. I don't think the ratings was as high as
Yeah,
other
no,
cartoons.
of course,
The
that's what
ratings were
it
low.
comes down to at the end of the day.
And I think the mix-up of toy shipments didn't help in some cases. Like only Bucky and Blinky at times got shipped. I think I remember used to going to Woolworths and only seeing Bucky O'Hare and Blinky on the shelves.
Well, to be fair, that's what that's what the talk is, that one of the biggest failings is because the toys weren't successful, because obviously the toys were linked to the integral part of the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had major problems with shipping the product, and obviously Jenny was already made as a beyond prototype level, and they held her back for the second wave, and obviously sadly she was never made. But as we know, a great toy brand at the moment is actually made 2019 versions of our beloved action figures.
That is awesome. So they got the whole crew?
Well,
the whole team?
They're piece by piece. They're bringing it out. They're bringing it out. So at the moment, I think they have Deadeye.
Yeah.
They have They have Deadeye. They have Jenny.
Yeah.
They have a camo version of Bucky, which is awesome. Like he's got like a blue overalls and like camo stripes on his fur. Awesome. Deadeye, I said already. They got a Toad Trooper, and I think obviously they're looking to bring more through. I hope we see a Fricks and Frax.
Yes, that would be nice.
I thought they were awesome looking characters.
I need to get a shirt of Fricks and Frax.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But listen. I hope you guys have enjoyed this show. If you have not seen it, check it out. Captain Bucky O'Hare. They know they own the fate of every warm-blooded, freedom-loving mammal in the animal universe in their paws, and the team tries their best to free enslaved animals, and you can get that. You can get behind that. It's awesome.
Of course you can.
There are plenty of high-energy thrills for the intrepid crew of the United Animal Space Frigate.
Yep.
Led by the Captain.
Say that
Bucky
10 times
O'Hare
fast.
In the ongoing battle against the Toad Menace. Check it out. It is on DVD. I mean, I don't know if it's on DVD. I mean, you can probably find it on Amazon, or you just stream it if you wish. But I will say, check out 13 episodes of the only series of Captain Bucky O'Hare, the animated series. Anything before we sign off? Free thought?
No, just I'm happy that we were given this, like, even though in a short run, and shout out to Boss Fight, which is the toy company that is making the new version of the figures. Awesome job, guys, and way to keep the story and the love alive.
So that's it. If you want to find out more about whatever episodes we're going to review, whatever cartoons, or or you have any recommendations of what cartoons you want us to review, please give us a shout on our socials that you can see on the screen right now. I am Skillet.
And I'm Free Thought.
And we are
Retroholics. Let's go get some toads!
This is Bucky O'Hare requesting to land on Moonport 4-5. When Sec got to mate again. My apologies. Requesting to land at, whoops, mating time.
Warning. Warning. Warning.